start off this evening by sharing that today we're going to be talking about wholesaling real estate in South Africa. Some will call it wholesaling real estate. Others will say I'm a property wholesaler. And better yet, many also use the terminology property sourcing. Either which way, these are the different names that are given depending on which country you are. So just a bit of history on that one, right? So you'll find a lot of people from the United States talk about wholesaling, and it's become quite a bit of a word across the internet. However, there's a lot more Brits that will talk about sourcing. And here in South Africa, I found that in the classroom, we learned about property sourcing. And go figure, we were talking about property sourcing mainly because what the company that we had attended our training with, which was Legacy, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad education, they were from Britain. I just want to say in the United States. However, over time, the more I got involved in property investing, the more I realized here in South Africa, we tend to we'll straddle the lanes and say wholesaling real estate, or we'll say property wholesaling, and other times we'll say wholesaling property. But either which way, tonight, this is what we are here for. So I want to say thank you so much. Kanisa, good evening to you. Hearts and flowers to you too. I love it when there's responses coming through. So you're super excited for today's session. You can't wait to get more South African insight on the strategy. Yes, fortunately, I should I say, I'm talking about it from firsthand. I was just about to mix up my words there. I'm speaking about it firsthand. This is the strategy that we had gotten into. It was not the sole strategy that my husband and I actually wanted to get into, or rather, should I say, let me speak from my side, because my husband and I started in property investing together. And at the time, we did not have money to invest. We were overdrawn at the bank. Our side hustle left us 5 million in debt. And at the end of the day, we were like, how are we going to get out this mess? And with that, we had gotten to a property investing seminar. I thought my husband had lost the plot entirely, because I was like, dude, how do we invest when we don't got money? Like I couldn't connect it until I got into this free seminar. Somebody in the front was like, yeah, this is what you can do. And then I was so irritated for being there until he said no money down. And suddenly he got my attention. And I was like, no money down in a whole property that I can hold, touch, hug, kick, everything. Like it's so tangible, but I can put no money down and get something out of it. So, of course, it was something that I was like, I got to find out about the strategy. I got to make it work for me. And in that, we had gone through to training 3 days, 9 to 7, listening to this fellow South African that used to stay in South Africa, that is staying in England, and he'd been doing things, and a lot of the team that was around the room as well. They were scattered between South Africa and England. And so for me, my curiosity was quite high, talking about all these different no money down strategies. And this is how we really got into it, guys. So in this, my husband and I started finding deals when we started with the coaching. And the coaching was actually what separated our previous businesses to this particular business in property, because we had somebody that been there, done that, got the t-shirt. We were not googling, we were not talking only to each other. Fortunately, we had a go-to person, and he had been doing property for a very, very long time, over 15 years by now, if I remember correctly. But you're nonetheless, being guided through this process. What we had found from the classroom versus what we found literally on the ground, for a while it felt like chalk and cheese. So it was good guidelines from the training room, but there were some things that were in a disconnect. And these are all the things that we're going to be unpacking this evening. So I'm so very excited. I just thought, let me just give a quick high level introduction as to who I am. So welcome to my channel. My name is Genevieve Stafford Jack. And in that mouthful that I shared with you, that is just really the what could I call it? The grounds of this particular mini masterclass. And it's also setting up what I've currently got going, which is two things. Currently, I've got a competition that's running until the 12th of November, which is Thursday till midday. And you could enter the competition to win one of 3 spots into the wholesaling course that I'm running from next week, which is the 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th. And if you stay until the end of this particular video, I'll go into a lot more details as to what we're going to be covering. In fact, throughout this particular video that I've put together today for our mini masterclass, I'll really be touching on some of the concepts that I will be expanding about at the training. So without much ado, I want to say thank you so much, Kanisa. I see that you are certainly excited to get into this. So I'm going to go into sharing. So let's just make sure that this time, when I click on buttons, I'm clicking on the right buttons, because the last time I was doing my own little crazy stuff. So here we go. We're selecting that young presentation that I put together. So today, wholesaling real estate in South Africa. The excitement is that, when I got into actually teaching in property investing, I was kind of bullied into it, because there was quite a few people that said, you are going to the front of this particular property investing network, and you're literally giving like less than a 60-second speech up there in front. And then during the break, you are surrounded by people. I want to do what you do. And so tonight, there will be a bit of theory that I will share with you that I learned in the classroom, but there will be a lot more tangible stuff that I learned practically on the ground by going through, properly sourcing deals in the double digits, earning money from there, and really creating a measure of time freedom for me to play around with other stuff that I enjoy, because in life you need multiple incomes of stream, and I'm all about, yes, I love property investing, I love the whole game of property investing, but I'm also a techie at heart, and I build websites sometimes, and I do small other things, Niana, and I'm all about, let's just diversify. So in today's session, we are going to be unpacking. Let's go into it. We're going to be unpacking wholesaling as a property investing strategy. We're going to talk about what is wholesaling. We're going to talk about the tools that you need, how to find motivated sellers, how to find motivated buyers, which a lot of people address as property investors, as well as closing on the deal. So let's get into it. So many people do ask, so what actually is wholesaling real estate? What is it when I get into property wholesaling? What does it mean to me in my life here in South Africa? Because sometimes I get onto YouTube and people are just popping, they're sharing all their wonderful things, but I don't quite get it. So today I'm really going to do my best to simplify the process so that we can pick up on that and run with the process. So here's a quick analogy, right? You will find a product. How many people sell products? So if you're one of those people that sell products, I would like for you to drop in the comments below, yes. Just a simple yes. If you don't sell products, it's okay. Then you don't have to answer yes. So how many people sell products? What people need to do is they need to go and find the product that they are selling, right? So they find this product, say it's that whiteboard there in the background. So I'm, doing the most from my office. At my nice little makeshift office I made at home. So say I go and I look for this whiteboard, right? And if I find this whiteboard at a good price, and we say that good price is 100 Rand. Now, being an entrepreneur, I'm thinking to myself, there's a lot of people that want whiteboards. Maybe I could make a hustle broker deal. And then maybe instead of the person that owns these boards, maybe instead of selling it to me for 100, because I'm buying a huge amount of things in stock, right? When you go to China Mall, you usually buy one thing for a certain price, but if you buy 5, it's considered stock, and then you get that discount. So yeah, so make that as an example, right? So we get this board. So if I'm now buy 5 of these boards, I may just get it at a stock price of 75 Rand. And then I turn around and I put my markup on there and I'm able to sell this particular board to others that will need it, but I've just made it a little bit more convenient. So we could see wholesaling almost something like that because you're brokering a deal. You're brokering something, right, that you have found, and then you put it into the hands of somebody that is looking for it. Now, if you say, okay, Jen, cool, I get that picture, right? Let's take it down even simpler because this is obviously what we're doing in our property business right now. You are going to look for somebody who is selling their property, but they're selling their property because they potentially are motivated to sell. Let's just break down this motivated word quickly. Motivated sellers are people that have got this I need to sell yesterday type vibe going on with them, right? And their need to sell could mean they may be going through a divorce, potentially they're leaving the country, and other times it's just the house is run down. It's not looking the best, right? And then you have this conversation with this person that says, I need somebody to bail me out of my current situation. Okay. Then what you will do in turn is like, okay, cool, no problem. I am the person to do this. You turn around and you go and you look for that investor. You look for the motivated buyer, which is a future property investor, because they're saying, you know, because property investing is a long term strategy, I want to accumulate as many properties as possible to create a portfolio so that my rental income gives me that passive income, right? So you locate a property investor that is looking to buy a property that is potentially run down. 8 out of 10 times, in my experience, the property needs a lot of attention. That's where I've gotten the biggest bargains from, where the property needs a lot of attention. So then I do like, okay, cool. So now that I've got the seller that is selling this property, now I've got the buyer. I connect these two in a very strategic manner so that I, as the person in between that facilitated this property investment opportunity, I get paid. And that's really what wholesaling real estate is all about. But I want to say tonight there is nothing flowery and cute about property wholesaling. Why? Because it takes up time. And if you stick with me in the next few minutes, you're going to understand what do I mean by this. You see, I've got a bit of a pet hate right now, is that too many property gurus or wanting to be property gurus, or even people like myself on YouTube, there are some things that I said that sound so anyone can do it. Yes, anyone that can do it if you're hungry enough. That's what I like to add in the end of things. If you're hungry enough, you'll be able to find a way to win. Yes, anyone can do it if they've got the tools to help them through the process. And this is why I'm talking about what is property wholesaling tonight. When I'm talking about wholesaling real estate, let's just put the strategy out there. This is what some people call a no money down deal. This is one of the ways that you don't have to put money down and you are involved in a property investing transaction. Okay. So that's the strategy. It does not mean that you are exempt from getting the right tools. It does not mean that you don't have to take out any money at all. You won't have to take out money for the property, but you may take out money for actually running through the process of getting your reports, making sure things are on market value. And those are the things that we're going to be talking about in the next two slides around tools. I want us to separate the thinking. So, yes, wholesaling is a no money down strategy, but you are going to need tools. You are going to need resources. And today I'm going to tap on the least expensive because, guys, Jenna is a hustler. When I got involved in this, I was like, you know what, guys? the less money I have to give out, the happier I'm going to be, because I don't have money to give out. But the little bit that I need to give out, I have to invest in getting the right tools and resources. So I trust that that has helped you somewhat just get into the picture of this no money down strategy, right? Because again, oftentimes we talk about no money down deals, but we don't separate. You will need money for your tools and resources. The strategy itself, you don't need money for. So, the ABCs of property wholesaling. This is what I would like to call it at this point, right? Let's just, perfect. So, the ABCs of wholesaling property. You need to understand, right, that they are people. So this is the awareness part, that there are people who are in financial challenges right now, and they want to sell their property, preferably at a discount, so that they can get their property off their hands. Sometimes you will find people that have inherited a property, and you will hear somebody say, Yo, I inherited a headache. Do you know those tenants haven't paid for the last 6 months? Now I've lost my parent or whoever the one that has left them that property. And now I have to deal with this one. Yo, they give me, my head is ba 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 ba. You will find people that say, COVID has really left me down and under. And right now, I need to get my property. This is the reality of life. That you are always going to find that there is a motivated seller that is sitting with a challenge. And their challenge makes them motivated, right? Because you will find in real estate, some of the terminologies, again, it just does things like this to my brain, right? But these terminologies you need to understand. Everybody's going to say that they are motivated. You need to pay attention to what motivation means, especially in wholesaling, especially within the property investing space. Because I could say to you, oh, I'm so motivated to sell. Why? Because I just want a big house, and maybe this house is just choking me. And then you actually look and you think to yourself, are you sure you're motivated? Because then sometimes somebody that says, I'm motivated to sell, they're sitting in the hana ring. Maybe I wouldn't take this amount of money. Maybe I won't take that amount of money. But there's somebody that's sitting there that says, I've inherited this headache. And to get rid of these tenants, and this property that I've been given, can I just can I just discount the price, get rid of it? There are people that are that motivated because they've inherited a headache over and above everything else that they do, and they may not even be interested in property investing. And sometimes a motivated seller could look like, I want to get into a bigger project. I'm going to sell this at a discount because I know the flaws in this particular property. So I want you to think about this. I call it the ABCs because you need to be aware that there are people sitting in this situation. The B for the ABCs of wholesaling is buyers. There are people who want to buy property that is in not so good condition at a discount price. So if I can get a property at 100 rand, but it needs maybe about 20 rand to fix, could I potentially get it at 60 rand, fix it for 20 rand, and then eventually sell it for 100 rand and make the 20 rand difference? This is what happens. The reality of life is that when we are aware that there are people that are wanting to sell like yesterday, we need to be aware of the fact that there are buyers that also want to buy like yesterday at a discounted price. And the C is where you come in as a wholesaler, where you come in with property wholesaling as a property investing strategy, because you have found the seller and you have found the buyer, and you connect both parties. And because you connected both parties, cha-ching, that's where the money comes in. And this is why I call it the ABCs, because these are the three components that are moving components constantly, right? Everyone has their own reason to get involved in property investing. My reason was to get out of debt. My reason was to find creative finance in something that was legal and above board and tangible. My mind was, can it be tangible? Because I can't be swindled out of money I don't have, guys. Yes, like this is where my mindset was. Where is your mindset currently? Why is it that you want to get involved in property investing? And it'll be awesome to hear from you down in the comments below. You see, in property investing, there are strategies for people that have money, and there are strategies for people that do not have money. Okay. And sometimes the same strategies for people that don't have money could be used by people that do have money. Why? Because of the reason for getting into property investing. And here's an example. Say, me, I got money. I'm feeling like I've got the paper, right? Now that I've got the money, I may just be short a little bit more money. How could I legally, above board, use a property investing strategy to get more money? I may want to wholesale property. Sometimes I could find a deal that is not within my strategy in property investing, and I may want to sell this particular opportunity to a property investor that's got money. Why? Because if I've got 100 here and I get another 20, this could just be me creating a bigger lump sum of money to go and do something else in life, which is the most. So I may just use wholesaling, right? And tonight, because we're talking about wholesaling, I'm not going to be talking about 20 other different strategies until I get through wholesaling. So I want you to have this picture in your mind. Wholesaling can be for people with money, without money. And the people with money that is wholesaling may just be building their capital, potentially to go and buy a property, and they want to make sure that the property that they're going to buy in future, they've got the money for that property in hand, which is the asking price for that particular property, which is your closing cost that you need. For example, you go and you buy a property, you need to make sure you've got bond fees, you've got transfer fees, money. And if it's over a million at this particular point, if it's over a million, you want to know that you've got the transfer duty for the sliding scale where the purchase price actually fits in. Okay, so now that I've painted that picture, I really just wanted to take a bit of time, because if it annoys anybody, it could annoy you away from this video and say, Jen, you're talking about the basics. But I really believe these basics first needed to be put in before we unpack the next slide. And if you're saying, actually, I'm glad that you take it slow like this here, for you, I'd like you to gently hit the like button so that at least I know, hey, Bana, we together. Okay, so the ABCs of wholesaling, I understand that there's people that want to sell, people that want to buy, and you are the one that's going to connect these people. However, before you connect the said people, before you even go out on a mission of selecting or finding these people, what I need you to first look at, very, very simply, is the tools and resources that are out there to make you be in a place of an advantage, to make you be in that advantageous point. Because at the end of the day, you need to analyze property to make sure that this motivated seller that's saying to you, I just want to get rid of the property, you want to make sure that the opportunity is indeed viable. All right. So how do we analyze this deal? First, you ask yourself, what are the investing strategies that I know? Passive income, active income, right? And then you say, okay, cool, there's these two types of strategies. Now that I know that there's these two types of strategies, I want you to keep in mind for future that your strategy will always determine the area you are going to look in. And here's an example going on to the second block. Understand the area. When I am in the area, Say, for example, I am 1 kilometer away from the University of Johannesburg. At that particular point, then you actually say, you know what? That investing strategy is passive income. Why? Because we're going to use the vehicle of service accommodation, which is student accommodation, because it's a service that you are busy with there, right? So, because in this area, there's a lot of student accommodation, right? I'm going to look in this particular area so that I know in the back of my mind when I'm looking for the investor, I say to the investor, are you interested in student accommodation? And if the investor says, yeah, Bill, then you already say, okay, cool. The area that I have found is area X, and it's 1 kilometer away from the University of Joburg. You've already eliminated the first 2 blocks, which is understanding investing strategies, understand the area. Because look, you cannot, I believe, you cannot now decide I'm going to go to an area where, for example, there's a lot more rentals and want to do a flip there. I'm not saying it cannot happen. I'm saying your probability is probably much lower. Some areas, inevitably, you will know this area. I have seen so many people in this area. And because I see the ins and outs of this area, I understand this area to be a lot more a rental strategy opposed to a flipping strategy, right? So when you understand the area like that, you also know which type of investor you are going to appeal to in the future. Why? Because there's certain investors that say, me, I just want to flip. I don't want anything else. Why? Because I'm building capital for my bigger goal. And then there's going to be an investor that says, me, I just want passive income because I'm done with work. I'm resigning. I'm out of here. I want to build wealth. I want to build legacy for my kids. So you already start seeing, okay, now that I know the strategy, okay, I've done the area, I look for the property. When those two things are ticked off, you know what you are looking for, because you do not want to go, for example, to a butchery that predominantly is a butchery. For example, okay, no offense to anybody, you don't want to go and buy meat for people that are looking for halal meat. You don't want to go to an ordinary butchery. You want to go to a butchery where there's halal meat, because you want to do the right thing. You cannot decide either as vegetarian, because, by the way, the vegetarian's food cooks quickly. When I'm done with everyone that eats meat, I'm just going to make it in the same pot. It doesn't belong in the same pot, even though the meat is not together there at the same time. But for the fact that the flavors and everything from the meat was in that pot, you don't want to be going putting vegetables in there. Like, I want to take it down to its smallest degree, guys, because again, like I shared, my pet hate is so many times people get into a space and, for the sake of whatever it is, there's words and things that are just overly used. I really want to make it that simple. So you don't exactly want to be cooking a vegetarian dish in a pot that was just used for people that eat meat. So now that you know I'm looking for a property in area X that will give me a specific passive income or active income, you've got your marbles, you've got your vision, you've got your focus, right? Now that you found the property, what do you need to actually do? Because now you found the motivated seller. You have found the property that goes together with this motivated seller. Your seller is going to tell you one story. You need to know the other side of the story, which is facts. And you need to understand that there's some sort of property market analysis that you need to do, which speaks to the fourth block on the presentation. Because when you understand that there's property analysis, the market analysis that is going around this particular area, if your motivated seller says, I need to sell for 800,000, but everybody else is selling for 820,000, and then when you look again, all the renovation that needs to happen in that house is over 100,000. Like, you already know this, this is not for me. I'm sorry. You may be distressed. You may be motivated. You may just be in that space where you need to sell, but this is not the deal that we're looking for. We're looking at something much more discounted, right? Now, there are resources, which is block number 5, that you will need, such as your TPN reports and your Lightstone reports. So before I just ramble on and continue, because I know I can, what I'm wanting to do is give you a quick example. Because, Genevieve's all about the examples. We know this, right? Let's quickly go to to Google. So when I'm talking about a TPN report, I'm saying go to Google, type TPN. And by the way, while we're waiting for TPN, TPN doesn't pay me. This is resources I always talk about that I believe anybody should have access to. You then go into TPN website, you'll see that there's a lot of things that TPN does, right? But because we're here for property, we want to understand in the shop, they sell different property reports. And then when I get into the shop, there's different categories. What am I looking for? I'm looking for a property report. And when I get into this property report, right, I want to understand things like an investor report. An investor report is going to tell me things like, as the description shares here, right? So it's going to say the investor report provides property investors and managing agents with invaluable insight. And the invaluable insight talks about the area composition. What is it made up of? The demographics, the people that are staying there, the rental prices, the rental yield, meaning, when the money comes in, what are we yielding? The tenant performance. So these reports are as little as 28.75, right? However, here's the flip side, because remember I said to you earlier when we started, I'm going to share with you some of the basic things where I know, when you're starting off with no money, you actually say to yourself, but Genevieve, you don't understand. That 25 Rand is a lot of money already. I get it. You're going to find times when you go and you see property, and this particular property is sold by a real estate agent, property practitioner, right? And this property practitioner will give you a Lightstone report. There's 2 things I want you to do. Say thank you for the report. Why? Because they've just saved you 28.75 cents. And the second thing I want you to do is to see when that report was extracted. And here's why. Guys, I told you I'm sharing because I'm just like, when you get to this point of, yes, the process is simple, but it's not easy. And when I hear some people making it sound like it's a walk in the park and like, duh, like I want to smack them because there's so much that goes into it, right? So the second thing you need to do on this report is check when the report was extracted. And the reason I say that is that if you are on the other side, you're looking at on this particular report when last property was sold, but you're looking at a Lightstone report or whichever report, right, that gives you the property valuation of that property you're interested in. If you are looking at a report that was extracted 6 months ago, I want to ask you, in this time that we've just been through, what has not happened in 6 months? There's a lot that has happened. So you must be aware of small little things like that there's a lot that has happened, and the report should not be old. When you look at that particular report, it mustn't be telling you about stuff that happened 6 months ago. Because at the end of the day, or rather, it shouldn't be telling you that it was extracted 6 months ago. Because if we look at where we are right now, from where we come from. So let's reverse how many months. So we're saying, so now we're November, say October, September, August, July, June, May. Imagine something that was pulled out in May. We were on level 2 in May, right? In this COVID situation. Between level 2 and 6 months to date, what has not happened? Now think about what that report is telling you. It's probably telling you a very different story. But again, guys, I want you not to be cheeky with real estate agents. I don't want you to be saying, yeah, you want to con me out of it. You simply ask, is it possible that I could have the most updated Lightstone report? Because I see you pull this particular report out on the 6th of May. Again, you want to keep yourself informed. And then last but certainly not least, now that you found the property, you understand what's happening in the area, as well as what strategies that you've been looking at that's happening in that particular area. You've done your property market analysis because you've used the right tools, which could be your TPN reports, your Lightstone reports. There's all these different types of reports. I'm giving you an example of TPN and Lightstone. It's not the end all and be all. These are the reports that we've used. These are the reports that we still use, right? Now, all of these things that you have found, you need to put together in a proposal. And here's why. Your buyer is going to ask you, how much money am I going to make? If you cannot tell your property buyer, you know what, I did market analysis and I've got all these things in order with my reports, and you're going to make 20% as your return on investment. If you can't tell an investor, a future investor, an aspiring investor, an established investor, an established buyer, same words, you cannot tell them that, guys, they will not take you seriously. They will look at you thinking you don't even know, your elbow to your elbow. Now, I must give you money for giving me what? Some property investors, aspiring property investors, and those that have just started out in property investing, having gone through to a training and may not have closed their first deal, may be very, very particular because they were taught something in the classroom and all they want to see is that they could live out what they've been taught in the classroom. So for many people that say, I just thought there's no money down, could be an opportunity for me to make a bit of money on the side, at least close 3 deals a month. I'm not saying that that is not a good thing. I'm saying put it in perspective. Why? Because you need to be able to have the education to help you go through the process. And this is why, again, coming onto YouTube, this is one of my spaces where I can just be me and tell you as much as I can without making you too dangerous to yourself going out there. So this is why I highlight the tools and resources that you need. You need to be able to put a proposal together. You need to be able to say to an investor, I have got a property investing opportunity that will give you 20% return on investment. And the particular strategy is a passive income strategy. Failing that passive income strategy, we could flip this opportunity and we can make 25% return on investment on your lump sum that you'll be able to make by flipping this deal. You need to be able to say that it sounds easy, but the work that goes into it needs you to put your back into it, right? So I trust that this is the one slide I said to myself, I'm going to labor this point to a point of nausea. Okay. And if so far you think, yeah, all right, I'm hearing you, Jen, I would love that down in the comments below you type, I hear you. Because if you hear me, I'm 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 with you here, okay? Sometimes you may not agree with me, sometimes you may just be saying whatever, but I want you to share with me that you hear me, because analyzing a property is going to tell you this particular opportunity is worth your time to go and find an investor or to go and find a property, again depending on which strategy you will use. So getting into how do I find motivated sellers? Finding motivated sellers is much easier than you think. I believe. Why? Going down this road, I used to think, yo, how am I going to find them? Earlier, I made certain comments, right? Divorced, immigrating, I inherited, my property is broken. These are signs of somebody that's really on the border of motivated to sell, but they're also distressed. They're in a space where things are not working out according to the way they wanted it to work, right? So there's a lot of motivated sellers. And I want you to just for a moment think about this, right? Where you stay, in about a radius of 20 kilometers, how many people in your mind do you think is in this radius of 20 kilometers, right? And I want you to think that in that space, just 20 kilometers from where you stay right now, there are a lot of people that are wanting to sell. Okay. The people are everywhere, everywhere. You just need to be aware. Remember I spoke about awareness earlier? You just need to be aware that they are there and wanting to sell, because there's a lot of ways that we can find them. Okay. So I could go on for many days, but I will, when this particular video is done processing, I will stick up a reference video on top on how to find motivated sellers. But here is a quick synopsis. Could you drive around an area that you are interested in and look for a house that doesn't look so nice? Look for a house that is semi broken down. Look for a house that has got paper against the windows, grass about yay high. Look for something like that because it stands out from the rest. Then you think to yourself, maybe this person is in a situation where they want to sell this property, but they are embarrassed to make anyone come into the property, maybe have a show day, how real estate agents do and things like that. And partly they may be thinking inside, who would even want to buy my house? Think about that. Sometimes you could be sitting in a space of friends, you're at work, you're at work every day. You hear some people talking about, hey, in this area, I see 1, 2, 3 things happening here. They're close to me. 7, 5 things happen. Start listening out to what people are talking about. And then if you say to someone, you know what, the next time you see a broken house, can you let me know where? Just even if you're driving, pin me and say to me, hey, there was this pink house I saw and I thought about you. Could you get others that are on the ground, just walking, not knowing why you're looking for properties that are broken down, that are not looking so attractive? Can you get those people to tell you, yeah, Choma, what that broken house you're looking for? I've seen one here, and they throw you a picture or something like that. People are all around. We just need to be able to be aware on how to see them. And this is one of the ways how to see them. The next bit is finding motivated buyers. These are property investors. These are aspiring property investors. These are people that sat in the property investing education class alongside me and many other classes, right? To understand more about property investing. Those are the motivated buyers I'm talking about, right? Now, here's a quick case. Before COVID, I used to go to a property investing network. In fact, I used to go to a number of property investing networks. Other times, I would go to like the BNI. Then there is Toastmasters, or sometimes there's even women entrepreneurship groups that came together. And whenever somebody was in my space and then they asked me, what is it that you do? I say, I find bargain property opportunities, meaning I look for houses that are not so lekker and I connect them to people that buy it. Why would I say something like that? Because if somebody has not gone through the investing education, right? And I say, oh no, I'm looking for property deals for investors. Think about when you hear the word investors. Sometimes you will want to run and you think, the investor mustn't find me. Or sometimes when you hear the word investor, you think cha-ching, cha-ching, money is growing, here it's flowing. Sometimes that same aspiring investor, that same aspiring motivated buyer, all they have got on their side is good credit, and they go to the bank and get a bond, a mortgage, whichever way you want to call it, and they buy a property under market value, and they make sure that the rental income that they get pays the bond and the expenses that go with that property. And they were not somebody that had millions. And that's how I had to be corrected also within the property investing space. Now, you may say, oh, okay, Jennifer, it's easy to say, when we were going networking. But right now, we can't be doing the networking thing. What else could I do for me to find people that are wanting to buy these rundown properties? Where online can I go? Facebook. If you go to Facebook and you just type property investing, where would it take you? And then you start going to read. Don't just throw your things everywhere, right? Read. Why? Because at the end of the day, if you are in a space where you get every property investing group, like I've got a property investing group, I get annoyed when somebody comes into the group and starts posting all their adverts and things like that. Why? Because the group I created it as a safe place for people to learn more about property investing. I've come onto YouTube to do exactly the same thing. And where I post my videos onto my group so that the group can see in small bite sizes what's happening. And then other times, just in the group, I go and I have a session and I teach them whatever it is that we've been talking about for that month. So I want you to go in and start reading who talks, how they talk, and what they are saying. This could be a way for you to find out who they are. And if you've somebody that's been through a property investing education class, think about your classmates that you had. Do you still have any of their numbers? Why? Because they are the ones as well that could buy deals from you if you're wanting to go into property wholesaling. Now, here's a quick story before I move on to my next slide by closing the deal. What is interesting is that for some of you that may not know, my husband's name is Taurai Jack, and Taurai Jack is the co-founder of M5 Property Addicts, along with Rita van Rooyen. So the two of them are in business, and M5 Property Addicts is their business. They've co-founded this business. But where did Jenna, Rita, and TJ meet? Where did the three of us meet? In the classroom. So sometimes there are property investors closer to you than you think they are. Sometimes you just need to open your mind as to what's happening. I recall I was annoyed when I found out, but I thought it was funny in hindsight. I recall, when at the free seminar that I attended, they were like, "Oh, you'll come to our free seminar and you're going to meet our property investors." Yada yada yada. So I was like, "Okay, cool." They're really bringing the most. Okay. And when I got there and they were talking and talking, talking, and by the end of this whole situation, I was waiting for my men in black. Okay, because in my mind, property investor, men in black suits, whatever, they're going to come and say, "This is what we're looking for." And then we go out and scout for it somewhere. So, you know what I mean? That was my conclusion. This was my thinking. I chuckle at myself because you know what? I think it was pretty reasonable. And if you don't think it was reasonable, that's okay. That's okay because that's where I was thinking. I'm thinking to myself, so the people with like you're going to smell money walking down this passage, and then they're going to present their goods and whatever. They're going to be of this big company like a Renico, that's a development company. Except these are investors that are looking to restore homes that have been broken, that take them to their former glory. Like I had a picture in my mind. I want you guys to just jump into my mind just for these seconds. This is what I had in my mind. Never did I think the investors that these guys were promising were actually the same students that were learning the same thing. The difference is they had money, I didn't. So guys, I want us to open up our minds, because over time, if we don't have open minds, we're going to get into a lot of trouble. So as I come towards the end of this particular presentation, because I really would love that somewhere along the line when I get back to the comments that there's been a question or two, or if you've got questions brewing, I'd love you to drop them down in the comments below. So connecting the seller and the buyer. So once you've established that the property is viable because you've used all those tools and resources, you've run your numbers, you've done due diligence, and now you want to connect the buyer and the seller, there are two ways to go about doing this. You could find the property, run the numbers, do the due diligence, and put it into a proposal. This is what we've just learned now, right? And then we go off into the big bad world to go and find a buyer, which is a property investor. And that's the way I learned in the classroom. And there is nothing wrong with that. Why? Because some of the buyers were the people that sat with me in the classroom. Some of the buyers were people that I met in the network, okay? Until one day, my husband and I were talking as we do, and we said, what if we flip it on its head? Okay. Why don't we go out and like find the most property investors that we can possibly think of, get all of their business cards and keep that relationship, right? But while we are making this relationship, let's find out what their requirements are. And if we've got this pool of people and they've got similar requirements, maybe then, because we've got them, which means we've got the money, we go out and we find the deal, we do the due diligence, we do the analysis, put it on the proposal, and then we contact these 5 people, and the first one that comes back to us, they are the ones that actually get the deal. And that's where we found a lot more of an uptake, because we literally understood, okay, you're looking for a deal that is 400,000 ish. Why? Because currently you've got about 600, 650, but we're not going to go and look for a deal that's 650, right? Why? Because you need closing costs. So if you buy this property that 400,000, and you know on market value it's worth maybe 700,000, you go and buy it for 400,000. You do the renovation, which then means you see that 400 to the 650. There's renovation money in here, and then when you are doing the most, getting the bond and everything, your closing costs. Sorry, your closing costs, you've got that money because there's bond fees that the bank is going to say, hey, my cost, my money, the transferring attorney is going to say, now that the title deeds is on your name, my money, and all the stuff that they offer that goes with transfer fees. So you want to know that at this 650, you don't go looking for 650, you go looking for about 400, so that you know that this 250 can cover renovation and can cover closing costs. And guess what? Many investors that I brought a deal to eventually, and I said to them, this is the deal and this is how much is. And they said, oh, I've got so much more than that. And I would say, yes, but you want to use it as your renovation costs and your closing costs. Have you thought about that? And the surprising thing is, 9 out of 10 people actually would say, oh my gosh, I forgot about that. Or some would say, actually, I thought I was just going to use my credit card for that and then make a plan to pay it back. So already thinking 5 steps ahead really got us in a space where, second to none, we were shooting the lights out, we were doing the most, and really just, helping people at their particular point of need. Okay. All right. So let me see. I'm just going quickly into the comments, and before that, after that, I'll just go back and close off in a minute. So Kanisa, Fakile, I hear you. You with me? You see, I'm happy that you are with me. Is it an advantage to find a property that already has tenants, or is it actually problematic? That is a brilliant, brilliant question. This question, why I call it brilliant, it's just, there is, for me, here, what happens, I find a property, it's got tenants. These tenants may just be problematic and is giving the previous owners a headache, which then means if they're giving so-and-so a headache, I am getting a headache also if I'm part of the future process, right? But the flip side to this is, when you find a property that has got tenants, this is what I need you to look out for. Ask for the lease, because you need to go in prepared. So there's no yes or no answer to this, because they could be problematic, or historically they've been living there for a minute and they're really good tenants, right? So you want to ask the landlord, the lease agreement, which is the rental agreement that you have got with so and so. May I see a copy? Okay. You want to see, when was this signed? You want to see what the rent was agreed on the rental agreement. Because this is what happens commonly, is that rental agreements expire, and because people are selling, they just think, oh, you'll automatically go on a month to month rent, because legally this is supposed to happen. And after I sell the property, not my problem. You don't want to meet up with that. Yes. What you want to actually find is that on the rental agreement, you want to see how much. Okay. Because the flip side is that if you say, yeah, this person has been loyal and everything's been happening, then you want to, when you are going to validate the people, right? You then want to ask, okay, could I have your 3 months bank statement? Because this is what happens. The reality is that you're going to have to do a checkup on your tenant. When you see what is on the rental agreement and what is going off on the account, is it apples with apples? That's one. Two, if the lease agreement has expired, the rental agreement has expired, you want to understand what is the expectation of that particular tenant. Again, are they going to give you problems, or are they not going to give you problems? Because these are the things you want to put into the proposal to the investor, because you are wholesaling the deal. Because today we're talking about wholesaling. We're not talking about joint ventures. We're not talking about everything else that I talk about on a day-to-day basis on my channel. We are talking about wholesaling. So you want to be able to tell the future investor, hey, Bana, you're going to get tenants, but this is what the lease agreement looks like right now. And do you know what? Just for good measure, what I've learned over time is that sometimes if that tenant is given enough issues, and to get that tenant out of the seller's hair, there's been a seller or two that has signed a rental agreement with their current tenant saying, I won't even raise the rent for this year. Now, do you really want to be sitting with all of this? So my encouragement to you is that it's not so much whether it's good or bad, problematic or not problematic. You want to verify the information by means of the rental agreement to see actually what is going on there. And if there's no rental agreement and it's about default month to month, you then want to say in the offer to purchase that this particular seller needs to make sure that the property is vacant, failing which, that the seller is liable for costs for getting the tenants out. That is good information for your investor to have, and you put that in your proposal, saying, there hasn't been much of a conclusion about the tenant, but what you may want to think of in your suspensive conditions when you sign the offer to purchase, you may want to put that down. Because if they do get rid of the tenant, you get into an empty place. But if they don't, you are not liable then for the costs of eviction. So I trust that is explained it to you. I am so happy to hear someone who confirms my way of thinking to be okay, because I fear finding a deal and after all the effort, I don't get an investor, especially because I'm not part of a network. I certainly relate to where you're coming from with that. And more so because where I'm sitting, Kanisa, is this. In as much as I'm part of a network, I have fallen on my face as well after doing my homework and a deal. And it's fallen through and it's fallen through and it's fallen through. And I've gone through all these investors that said I've got all this money to go through with it, and then eventually they were not happy with the deal and things like that, and it fell through. I was annoyed from here to Timbuktu and back, but I asked myself, how could I change this around for me? And I changed it around for me, that I found the investor before I found the deal. Now, I'm not saying it exempted me from ever having a deal first and then the investor. All it taught me is, now what other tactics and tips could I use to make sure I get this deal off my hands? But in my space, December is 4 years in property investing. And December 4 years, I have had a good number of deals fall through, because when I couldn't get to sourcing them, I looked for a partner that was good at a joint venture. And some of them would say, it's too distressed. This is not in my cup of tea. Somebody would say, no, I've just finished buying a property. So right now I'm exposed. Like everybody had a reason for me. And you know what? This is life. It's going to happen. That's the crux of everything, right? You just need to be able to say, okay, I'm going to roll with the punches. And if I roll with the punches, what is it going to look like for me in the long run? And this is what I found, that sometimes I'm going to get into this particular way where you were fearing right now, that, you know what if I find a deal and it falls through all that hard work? There's risk. And at the end of the day, we try our best to make calculated risk. And this is why now my winning recipe is, I've got a handful of property investors that I know how liquid they are, or they're connected to somebody that's liquid. And only on me and their conversation do I go and find a deal. You're not just going to find somebody who wants to go and get a block of flats, mixed use, like a blocks of flats and residential. I go and I find that, I put a few specs on the table. I tell you, those are the deals that go. Why? Because I had that conversation with the person. So I trust that that also helps. So let me just go back to my presentation, so that at least when we know that, we say amen, I've gone through everything that is needed. So back to the presentation, ladies and gents. Thank you so much for the comments. Thank you so much for the questions and the affirmations as well. Thank you also for those that liked the video. That's always good, get the YouTube algorithm loving this video, so more people can get to seeing this video. So I want to close off by saying something like this, right? In the week of the 16th of November, 16, 17, 18, 19, I'll be running a wholesaling real estate course. We're going to be touching on what is wholesaling from a legal point of view. Today, we were talking about what is wholesaling from understanding the strategy itself, right? So yes, we will repeat some of that, very little though, and we're going to talk about it from a legal point of view, and I'm going to have legal representation talking about it. Day 2 of the 4 days, we're going to talk about property lead generation. How do we create the leads for the properties as well as for the investors themselves, right? Day number 3, we're going to be talking about running numbers and analyzing a deal. That in itself is a process. So if you want to, in the meantime, on my YouTube channel, you can go and you can search for a deal analysis. And a couple of weeks ago, I did a lengthy deal analysis using the deal calculator to give you an overview. And in future, if you're watching this particular video, I will stick up this particular reference of the video here, so that you can see what goes into deal analysis and the type of questions that actually surface from there. And on the 4th day, we're going to actually put a deal together on a proposal. And from here, you're going to get the bonuses of a property checklist, a property deal calculator, as well as I should have added in the proposal creation, where you can chop and change, but you'll have the basic creation proposal template, so that at least you've got insights into this. So I'm having this 4-day online course. It will start at 7 o'clock at night till 9 o'clock, and it will be in 2 hours chunk sizes, so that at least you can, you really just get into the meat and stuff of things. We can have the conversation. It will be on Zoom. So the nice thing is that I will limit the occupants of the training to 10 people. However, here's something that could interest you if you've decided to stay till the end of this particular video. What could interest you? Of the 10 spots, there are 3 right now that are taken by people that are entering a competition. And let me go into this particular competition. Let's see if I can go back to Google without doing the wonderful things that I sometimes end up doing. Like sometimes, Shem, we'll just go back and hijack the TPN screen that I had just now, right? So let's go into the TPN shop. So some people may know and some people may not know. So if you go to my website address is genevieve-jack.com. I couldn't quite make a Genevieve Stafford Jack. That's a lot to say. So I've just made it genevieve-jack.com. When you go to my website and you go to giveaway, you click on giveaway, and then you'll see the drop down. this particular giveaway, which is a competition, if you can call it that, it will expire November the 12th, okay, at 12 o'clock. So exactly at 12 o'clock, you won't see it anymore. It will tell you it's closed. The wholesaling, which is again throughout this process, I shared with you wholesaling, sourcing, same shoes, different stocks. So you can stand a chance to win one of 3 spots to a live wholesaling online course, which is with me the week of the 16th to the 19th at 7 o'clock in the private Zoom meeting room. And this is what we'll be talking about, right? And obviously with the bonus pack. Now, there is a simple question to get into it. And it's really about, can you make money from property, or can you cash flow from property from day one? And for those of you that have already entered, you'll each time go back to my website, and then you'll see lucky number, and there'll be a number at the end which already indicates to you that you have entered. But now once you've entered, right, there's a number of different things you can do. You can share this on Facebook, you can share it on LinkedIn, you can tweet about it, you can go onto Pinterest, or you could simply just copy your lucky URL, your lucky URL, which is, this one is mine, okay? And then when you share it, you get 100 more points to enter if you refer a friend. So say, for example, you decide you click on Facebook, it's going to go into your timeline, and others that are like, oh, I didn't know you're into property investing also, they may just follow this particular bit, right? But then you could also then stand a chance to win a lot more points as well. You can get a free copy of my property investing book. It speaks all about me doing wholesaling in the beginning of days, not the second part of the strategy. At least this particular video will complement that, right? And then tonight's session, I've then said, if you share about tonight's session, you'll get even 1,000 points, because I'm wanting to boost for those that have come in and said, hey, I'm still sitting on 1 or 200 or whatever. Then there's others that want to know, how do I know it's a good deal? And then you can watch some content that will be able to give you 350 points, but also answer what is a good deal. So there's a couple of things that you can do right here, straight off this website. But you know what I've seen? That there's a lot of people that are getting a lot of entries just by sharing about this particular competition on social media. So that's really what it's about. And if you're one of those people that say, okay, Jen, I am interested, I'll join you, but let me try my luck. You've got until the 12th of November to go get a copy of my book, go and see other stuff that will interest you to be able to grow you where you are, right? And again, straight talking like this, I hold very little to nothing back. Actually, I don't hold anything back. My husband says I share to a point of nauseum, but that is me. So at the end of the day, that is really what I have, what I've planned for this particular live streaming training, just so that you could get the end-to-end process to understand a lot more. But if you say, hey, I'm not waiting to win, you are most welcome to also go to my website. As you would have seen, maybe I would just quickly share that one again with you. You can go to my website, and you can go to, like I said, Genevieve Jack. Let's go take all the giveaway stuff out. When you get to my website, you'll then be able to click on shop. And when you shop, then you'll be able to be taken down to the property wholesaling, which again, you will find wholesaling. Once you've clicked on wholesaling, ordinarily you can see I usually charge 2,997. But what I'm doing now, especially in the time of COVID, especially in the time of people wanting to understand stuff, I've discounted it. And it's like literally you're going to be paying a third of this, and you'll see other bonuses as well in this particular course. So I trust that this has been awesome for you guys. It's definitely been an interesting space for me today, where I get to sharing. Let's see. Yeah, where I get to sharing. And yeah, so I want to find out before I exit. Let me stop sharing there. before I exit, I just want to find out, is there any questions perhaps? You can see I just threw you the back end of, of YouTube. I was just being a bit of a ditzy there. So I want to find out from you, is there any other questions? Please explain how sharing the URL works. I've tried it, but the people I shared it with struggled. What did they struggle with? Okay, so if I can show you, no problem at all. Let me go back into sharing. Sharing is caring. So sharing, share. Now I'm going to be doing the back end. Okay, let me share. Okay, so what happens is, let's go to the giveaway, because whenever I put anything together on my website, I must also test it. So if you do something like this, if you copy, right, this URL, and then you go into Facebook, for example, Facebook, okay, when you go into Facebook, what will happen is, now I'm showing you my endeavors here. Anyway, we go into Facebook. When you go into Facebook, you go into your post. You could literally say, well, I'll say this, right? Because everyone knows me, obviously, on my Facebook, and I've been talking about it. There are just a few more days to get your dibs in on this course. What are you waiting for? Okay, for example, and I post it. What will happen is, as I post it, if you click on share with Facebook or share in LinkedIn, share wherever, this is exactly what it's going to do. So what will happen is somebody will come and click on my link. So say you go here and you click yes. When that is clicked, what happens is, right, if you can see up until this point, it says lucky number 91. There's a whole lot of code that says it's this person that's been referred by Genevieve. So it will come back here, and the person will have to now come in and answer the question. But because I've answered the question, it's obviously taking me back to my link. So right here, when somebody that has never entered the competition, if they go and they decide to enter the competition, they would then go straight through to, they'll be able to go straight through and then answer the question and then stand a chance to win a number of things. So I trust that helps a bit, because what happens is when somebody else clicks on your link, automatically by them entering the competition, you get referred on my side, and it shows you, or rather it starts accumulating on the back end saying, you know what, this person, Jen, was referred to by Kanisa, which then means Kanisa needs 100 points to be added, and the system automatically adds those points. Does that answer your question? So in today, we're doing the most with the competition as well. So I trust that is cool. If somewhere along the line, it may not be too clear, what I'd love then is for you to just drop me a message and then let me know where is it giving you an issue, so that I can have a look at that. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you so much for this evening. This is what the training is all about. I'd gone into as much detail as I can as possible on YouTube. But again, just know that you can stand a chance to win a space. If you don't win, then you'll have between Thursday evening or Thursday midday to until Monday morning to book your spots, if any of the spots are still available thereafter. There will be no more than 10 people in the training. Already we know there will definitely be 3, but there will be no more than 10 people in the training, just so that we can keep it intimate, clear, and do the most. So I want to say thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, and I trust that this training has been on point for you. I'm also going to put this training onto my website, so that everyone in future can have a look at this training as well. So cool. take good care. God bless you. And if you want to, don't forget that you can have a look at the other training I was telling you about. Let's see if I could actually put a link, because I know, the other question that always comes with me is, Jen, please can you tell me, how do I run numbers? Because the numbers is the one thing that confuses me or perplexes me. So this is why I'm talking about numbers. Cool. I'm almost there. I'll just put that link in the comments below. Cool stuff. Yeah, we had gone through like an hour, 42 minutes about running numbers. Cool. That is the particular link to running numbers. Cool stuff. Take good care. Looking forward to serving you guys next time. Be safe and all of those wonderful things.